Rajneesh, Vasant. So I'm not going to waste any of your time. Let's get started right away. The stage is yours.
Sure. Thank you, Triple IT Kozhikode, for inviting me for this forum today. So I don't have any specific agenda, and I want this session to be very interactive. I hope there can be a few things that you can learn towards the end of the session. What I was thinking is primarily thought of giving you a quick intro in terms of what we do at Ant IoT, our journey, the lessons that we have learned through the process, and also talk about some of the opportunities where we can work together. This is what is running in my mind. But then, if you want anything specific to be addressed as a part of the session today, please feel free to put that in the chat box to the right. And I'd be more than happy to accommodate the question and respond to it. All right. So we have like total 19 participants for this session. Is that all, or is it also being streamed somewhere else?
So it will be recorded and streamed on our YouTube channel, Dhruva.
Okay, sure. All right. Let me give you a quick background about Anter IoT. My personal background, I come from IT background where I've worked in various leadership roles. And fortunately, I got an opportunity to interact with a lot of CXOs as a part of my leadership roles in my previous organizations. And one thing that I've learned is there is a huge opportunity for IoT. Everyone talks about IoT as a part of the Industry 4.0 initiatives or as a part of the digital transformation journey. The companies assign a lot of budget for these activities, but at the end of the day, it's not really implemented because one, there is a lack of exposure. Two, there are not many mature solutions available in the market. And this we felt as an opportunity. And in 2017, we have started Anter. And by mid of 2018, we kind of started our operations and had our product in place. And we started Anter, and the objective is to build delightful range of IoT products. We want to build products that our customers are proud of using. And again, when we're starting this, what we realized is, you look at any company, right, in the IoT space, what happens is either they might be too good in the hardware space, or they might have exceptional platform, or they might be specializing in the end user apps. But typically, and that is a challenge because you look at products from China also, they do really good job when it comes to the hardware, but the software or end user apps are not something that we'd love to talk about. Similarly, there could be some platforms with end user apps, but the hardware is something not very robust. And for someone who might want to have an end product, it's very difficult because you need to buy the hardware from some place, you need to get the software from some other place, you need to integrate these things together. And again, if there is an issue or something that comes, it'll take a lot of time for us to address the problem, right? So this is the gap, and this is a challenge. And just like the mobile phones that we used to have some 10 years back, when the mobiles first came in like 10 years back, the main challenge that we had with the mobile phones is the usability, right? So just a minute. Yeah, just excuse me a second. Yeah, the main problems with the mobiles is particularly the usability, and then we have these handheld or the smart watches and things like that. But again, if you have to look at something, you'll have to hold your hand like this. There are a lot of things that are very important when it comes to the usability, when it comes to devices like that. And the same is applicable even with IoT. When I'm talking about IoT for consumer products, you will have to ensure that the response times are really good. You'll have to ensure that it gives a very user experience to the user, right? So what we did at Anter is we understood the fact that we cannot win this if we operate in bits and pieces, and then we focused on the hardware. At Anter, we have our own hardware manufacturing facility, wherein we design, develop, and manufacture these products. And two, in order to get the data from all these devices, we understood the value of having a product platform. And then now we have our own IoT platform, which can connect to all these heterogeneous sources, get the data, and then slice and dice the data and give some analytics, insights, foresight, hindsight that the management can use to take the decisions, either through manually or through automated decision making. And again, once you have the platform, you need some interface to actually visualize the data that is collected on the platform. For that purpose, we've built end user applications, which are easily configurable and which will enable you to read the data that is coming from the end devices. So that's about Anta. We have the hardware manufacturing capability, the IoT platform, and also the end user apps. And now what it means to the customer at the end of the day, it's not about having a lot of tech, but what is important is whether are you able to precisely identify and deliver or address the customer need. And yes, these things will enable us to specifically address the customer need, because since we have the building blocks, right, it's very easy to put these blocks together in a shape which can be easily fine-tuned or customized in order to address a particular client need. And that's what we do at Anta. And the journey again, so when we first started Anta IoT, we know that sustainability is key to business. And we started looking at the low-hanging fruits. What is it that we need to immediately tap onto in order to generate some revenue for the company? At the end of the day, we're a startup who are like bootstrapped. So it is very critical to generate revenues as early as possible. So we looked at the market, and we looked at what is it that one thing that we can immediately start in order to start getting the revenues into the company. And we, at that point of time, we felt home automation is one space where there were like not many players there. When we started, there were like 7 players or so. And then we thought it's a good opportunity. And then we started it. Within a year, we have a product. Again, what the approach that we followed is, we primarily come from IT background, and we wanted to get into the market as early as possible. So we kind of identified a sick company, we invested in the company, and then we started building the hardware and accelerated the overall time to market. We had a product in the market and we started generating revenue out of it. And this smart home thing actually helped us learn a lot of things, helped us learn how to do the remote provisioning, what could be the challenges on the field, how do we optimize the platform, how do we optimize the end user apps, and things like that. So these are all the things that we learned the hard way, and it enabled that whatever building blocks we have, these are very robust. And then the COVID has come, right? And when COVID came, except the companies which were generating the monthly recurring revenues, all the companies which were primarily dependent on one-time sale of the products took a hit, right? And every adversity is an opportunity, right? For entrepreneurs, every adversity is an opportunity. And the COVID actually kind of gave us an opportunity to retrospect what we have done, and allowed us to improvise on whatever we had. And then we looked at industrial IoT, and we thought, okay, this is a great opportunity, because whatever components you need for an industrial IoT system, we already have them in place. It's all about shuffling these things, and again creating a service that customer wants. And that's how our journey into the industrial IoT started, right? Okay. So please, if you have any questions, please, you can drop that in the chat box. I'll be more than happy to take it. Okay, coming back to the industrial IoT. See, industrial IoT, when we talk about an industry, there'll be a lot of things, a lot of opportunities in it. We already have companies which very specifically address the specific pain points. For example, to track the moving parts like motors or turbines or the compressors. There are companies who specialize in tracking the moving parts and understand the point of failure for a device. Like, when is this machine going to fail, and whether the rotations per minute, based on the temperature that it generates, based on the vibrations on the machine, is it in a shape? Is the condition good? It's called the condition monitoring of the device, right? There are companies who does that, but they very specifically handle only that. Similarly, we have got companies who does the lighting alone, like automating the entire lighting in the industry, saving the power bills and all that stuff. Similarly, we got companies who does the air quality. So the problem is we got things in bits and pieces, but there is no centralized platform wherein all these things can communicate and give a holistic view to the industry. And that we found as an opportunity, and we built an industrial IoT platform in a box. So the advantage is this particular platform can talk to all the sensors, be it third-party sensors or even our own manufactured sensors, get the data and give the necessary visual information to our end customers. So that's about the IoT. And again, I think it's a huge opportunity because I'm sure most of you are, probably want to start your entrepreneurial journey, or probably would have already started something. And why I would say industrial IoT is it's a huge opportunity. It's a $142 trillion economy by the end of 2030, and we're already at it's $14.2 trillion economy. And currently the potential is around 142 billion USD already 2021, with around 46 billion devices already connected. So these are huge numbers. What it means is there is a huge opportunity, right? There's a huge opportunity. It will present us a lot of avenues for building products. And how? See, one, when you look at the overall industrial IoT market, about 7% of the money comes from the actual hardware. I know that could be the gateways, the sensors, or any custom modules that you develop. And 93% of the revenue potential is actually on the software side. That is the managed services, which means the software that you build on top of the hardware, which the clients can use, right? It can be an unmanaged system, which means a software which client manages, or it can be a fully managed service, which could be a client's accessing your cloud platform in order to access the data, in order to see the visualizations, or in order to link it with some other platform in order to take some meaningful decisions, right? So IoT is a huge opportunity, and we have built the necessary platform to talk to all these devices and give some meaningful insights to the customers. So let me just see if I can share some videos with you in terms of what we do. Do any of you do you find this session useful? Do you have any questions before I move on? Okay, good roadmap for IoT, definitely. See, one thing is when it comes to IoT, as such, any product, right? You have to be clear in terms of what is the problem that you want to address. Okay, if you have clarity in terms of what is the problem that you want to address, and have an unbiased view of who your competitors are, and it doesn't really mean that your idea has to be very novel. Okay, you need not be unique. I can tell you that, but your business model should be unique. The way you address a problem should be unique. Okay, just like the way you have Uber, we also have Ola, right, who is doing extremely good. So when it comes to the roadmap for IoT, what I would suggest you is try to build products like there is no harm in failing. Fail early, it's okay. You can improvise and you can build something better after the experimentation process. So once you're clear on the idea, you focus on your initial product, and there are a lot of open source platforms like Thingsboard. Okay, I'll just type it for you here in the chat box itself. Okay, so using platforms like this, you can directly connect your hardware and you see what kind of information you can display. Okay, once you have it done, right, once you think that your hardware is stable, because what happens in IoT is in our colleges and all, it's very easy to like build a prototype. The prototype works flawlessly. But when it comes to the commercial environment, it is a completely different game, right? You will have a lot of voltage fluctuations. You will have a lot of real-time challenges, network issues, mishandling of the devices. They don't really work in see, it's like testing in the wild, okay? Testing in the lab is testing in the wild. So first have your hardware, do the necessary improvisations on the hardware, ensure that it works robustly, and then use the open source platforms without the need for actually spending a lot of money on developing something from scratch. Try to visualize the software, visualize the information that is collected from your hardware and see where it stands. Do thorough testing. Okay, one of the things that we often fail or ignore is the testing part. Okay, the testing for any IoT hardware should be done in three aspects. One is at a functional level, whether it is working as intended. And the second thing would be to see the security. Security is extremely critical when it comes to any IIoT product, because it's not just about the security of the system. If your security fails, it can actually kill people. Okay. For example, there is a boiler, and if some remote hacker gets access to the boiler, anything can happen. It can blast because of overutilization, because of not monitoring the parameters, right? So the damage could be disastrous. So security is critical. So does the performance, because the whatever response times, right? The device, the information that comes from IoT device into the server, the response times are extremely critical, and hence the performance has to be really taken care of. And there is a very thin line between security and performance, because if you keep on encrypting everything, it will impact the performance. At the same time, if the performance is really high, probably you will have to compromise a bit on the security. So you'll have to strike a balance between both. And there are like a lot of, like, for example, recently Microchip has launched development boards, which has got onboard security. So you can experiment with things like this, considering the functional performance or the functionality of the device, the performance and the security, and have this product, hook it up with the platform, see whether you're getting the information. See, once it is done, that's your first step. You have a working prototype ready. And once you have it ready, and then you try to commercialize it. How will you commercialize it? You look at the places where this particular product could be deployed, whether it is in a harsh environment, whether it is in a controlled environment, indoor environment. So based on that, you can design the enclosures, right? Again, we've got people who specialize in industrial design. Okay, so industrial design, they've got a lot of agencies, or you can very well design it yourself. When you do the industrial design, there are a lot of finer aspects that you need to consider, whether you need to have an IP65 enclosure, whether you need to have some ventilation mechanisms, or even as a part of the protection circuits, you need to have, if there is a blast like MOV or some kind of device, these things blast, right? So you need to ensure that it doesn't catch fire. You need to go with fire retardant grade enclosures. So there are a lot of things that you need to take care as a part of the design itself, of the shell or the product itself. Once you have that in place, now it's time for you to, the platform, whatever you have earlier used, the open source platform, you need to customize it. You need to look at the scale, because when you typically try to sell your platform to companies, they don't really entertain us. The reason being security, like I said, would be very critical. So you need to go for, you can build your own UI on top of the platform. You can do all the code analysis, right? And then go for ISO 27001 certification. So what will happen is, it'll add to the trust factor. It'll add to the trust factor, and also build some basic mobile apps, ensuring whatever I just mentioned: functional, performance, and security. Once you have it in place, identify your client zero. Okay, identify your client zero, and then try to pitch the solution to the client. And again, let me tell you one thing. You need not wait for the best product to be there in order to reach out to someone. Okay, there is nothing called a best product. A product at any given point of time, there will be always a scope for improvisation, always a scope for adding more functionalities. So, often what happens is, you will wait for the best product to be ready. You will burn a lot of time. And at the end of the time, when you reach that stage, the product is already obsolete, or, market will have better options. Okay, so don't wait for the best product. You talk to the customers. Here, I would like to suggest you two things as a part of your roadmap. Don't do free POCs. Okay. charge clients for whatever you want to do, even if it is minimal amount, even if you're making half the money, it's absolutely fine. Charge customers for whatever you want to do. Take the products. And second thing that you should remember is give what client wants, right? You might be, you're all tech guys. What happens with the tech people is we'll be so much in love with the product. We'll build hundreds of features, and which might not, the client might not really need all these features. Okay. What is important is to give what client needs. And this is also a lesson that we have learned in the journey. We've got multiple products in our portfolio, but our biggest revenue generator till date comes from a product that's very simple. That it doesn't have a lot of tech in it. It's very simple, but then that is our biggest revenue generation thing in the whole portfolio. So, okay, so focus on what client wants, have a baseline product, focus on what client wants. Definitely your product would need customization according to the client need, charge the customer for it, give a timeline, deploy the product. And I think that's the approach that you should be taking as a part of your IoT roadmap. Okay. And another suggestion that I would like to give you as a part of the roadmap is, focus on the verticals. Okay. So if you do not have the vertical focus, what happens is there'll be too many things to chase, and you will end up nowhere. Okay. You can focus on energy, you can focus on healthcare, or you can focus on defense related stuff. So IoT is all over, right? It is growing at a pace that no one has actually anticipated. In fact, I was just looking back at my presentation that I did on IoT in 2014. At that time, by 2021, 8 billion devices were predicted on IoT. But now we have around 46 billion connected devices, right? So it's going at a phenomenal pace. And so it's very important that you focus on the very specific opportunity. Okay. So let me, when I talk about opportunity, let me show you a couple of case studies where, these are all very old slides, but they're still relevant. I hope you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Yes, no? Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, yes, sir. We can see.
Okay. All right. So see, this is a slide like that was in 2014, but it is still relevant. Just ignore the numbers on the slide, but then when you look at it, IoT is still like a tip of the iceberg, right? The penetration, whatever is supposed to happen versus whatever has happened. Okay, there's a lot of scope. And the key areas is one, definitely on the home side, all your smart homes or home related stuff. That's on the consumer side, you have a lot of scope. We have a very good scope in the transport, right? Be it like logistics, be it for tracking vehicles, be it for the tracking of components inside a vehicle. Okay, there is a lot of scope even in auto and transport. And health is growing. I mean, here it is actually small, but health is one of the big segments in IoT. There is a lot of demand for connected health. It could be tracking patients at the hospital, at the home, or it could be tracking vitals of a person. I think I come across an article from Forrester, I believe, where they said like in the very near future, every person would be carrying at least 8 sensors, with him. So I think it will become a part and parcel of our life. Buildings is again a huge scope where all these connected buildings, understanding the building utilization data. I'll give you an example, right? So recently we were approached by a client who have got around 150 offices across the globe. Okay, and one of the challenges for them is they don't have any visibility in terms of how many people are coming into the office, what is the building utilization, they don't have any control on the utility. For example, if you want to clean the building, there you will have to spend a lot of utilities, right? They don't have access to all this. And when they reached out to us, we do not have a solution ready, but then we told them that this is what we can do, right? Because like I was telling you, we have all the building blocks necessary to give a customized solution. And then what we suggested is, it's a very simple solution. We have these trackers, okay, the ID cards, and based on that, we will understand how many people are there inside a building. And when they move, automatically we can also track the heat map, meaning what are the areas in the building that are very active in terms of the usage, right? And based on this data, the analytics that we have provided are, one, the building occupancy metrics. Okay, based on this data, the client was able to understand the building utilization ratio, the capacity planning. And for example, if he's having 1 lakh SFA of space, and if only like 100 people are coming at any given point of time, there is no point maintaining a 1 lakh SFA space. They'll cut it down to 25,000 SFT space, and they will save a lot of money on the real estate. Similarly, employees should be working on the productive stuff, right? Generally when we go to a cafeteria in the busy time, you will see it like it's occupied. You don't have any place to sit. Same is the case with the gym or any of the office common places, right? Even the restrooms. So the same information can be used. Like before you start from your desk, you can see the real-time occupancy of various places, and then based on that, you can understand whether that space is used or not. Okay. Again, this information will help you because it will save you the time. And 3, the building infrastructure. When we talk about a building, you have the DG backup power, you have various machines, you have the HVAC systems, you have the access control systems, parking. There are a lot of things, right? And all these things work in isolation, silos, right? But then if you can connect this, I will show you some videos based on what we have done in this particular space. Probably towards the end of the session, you can get clarity in terms of what could be the opportunity. But then you can automatically, for example, based on my presence, I can automatically control the lighting. If I'm coming here, automatically the AC can be on and things like that. That will save a lot of power, even in the co-working spaces, right? Yeah, so these are the opportunities that we have. I'll also show you. This is again the Jeep when it was initially launched. It used to come with a remote. It's a connected car, right? But then it was hacked, wherein that Jeep was taken remotely accessed by a hacker, and that was moved into a ditch. So this again brings you back to the point I was telling you, right? It's not just about the security in IoT, it's also about the safety. It can kill people. So you'll have to focus on it thoroughly when it comes to the IoT part. Yeah, so this is the current market size when it comes to IoT. It's huge. Okay, so you can tap on any of these areas. You can look at the scale. You need not reinvent the wheel. There are a lot of solutions that are already available. Okay, it's just about connecting all these APIs, connecting all these services in order to build a solution. At the end of the day, what client cares about is about a solution. It's not about what tech you have used or what components are there inside it and all that. It's about the solution. So my suggestion as a part of your IoT roadmap would also be to take care of the solution. Yeah, so I think 2020, you already have the metrics. Okay, 2020, 46 billion devices, right? And these are the revenue numbers. So the growth is it's really beyond what is anticipated. Okay. So this is what a typical IoT system would look like when it comes to the components and all. You have your equipment, you have people, you have lighting, whatnot, and anything can be connected using, this is an area where you can build your hardware, right? You can, whatever problem statement you identify, you can build your hardware here, okay, and enable a few protocols. Using those protocols, you either use a open source platform or you build your own platform based on the requirement. and then build some end user applications wherein you can visualize the data, whatever you have built, right? This is the typical structure that you need to follow inside any IoT system. All right, so let me just. See, it's not about, okay, let me stop sharing the screen. Yeah, good. I would like to see the questions this way. Is it wise to build an IoT product based on other IoT products like Alexa or Echo, right? Again, novelty is one aspect of a product, right? Uniqueness could be one differentiator of the product, but you will have to look at the volumes, okay? Alexa, Echo range of products, they all have a huge marketplace, right? They're making their inroads into every home. And I'm not sure if you're aware, you can always talk to Amazon and you can build your own product. Okay, they give you the SDK, and you can put this SDK onto it and build your value add on top of it, and you can give your products, right? It is okay to build products like that, but then what you have to be careful is there enough market? Do you have enough consumers who would be taking this product? As a as someone who is in this industry for the last 4 years, right? What I think is genuinely missing when it comes to the voice part is there are no offline systems. All these systems, all these NLP based, NLP natural language processing based systems that we currently have, be it your Alexa or Google Home devices or Apple Siri, whatever, right? All these things, you need connectivity to internet. But then if you really want to work on a voice-based product like this, I think the opportunities, to my knowledge, would be one, build an offline voice assistant, okay, that can say go into any home, or that can go into any elderly care, because you have people probably who are restricted to a wheelchair. They might want to communicate or control some device using voice, and then not in all places you have internet, right? You know, in your apartment, in spite of having a very good signal outside your apartment, inside the home you might not have it, right? So if you have an offline voice assistant which has got some inbuilt onboard voice processing capability, I think that's a huge market to go into. So, and to answer your question, if it is wise, it all depends on whether you have a market. Okay, the current products might be there, but they might not be addressing a specific problem. If you have a problem and if you're clear that there is a solution which the market would be ready to take, yes, you should go ahead and build that solution. Okay, and another thing is, always look at it this way: you need not really compete with people. Sometimes you can also complement. Okay, for example, if you are building a product that can work using the Alexa architecture, Amazon architecture, and also your own code, which can run on the device itself in order to at least identify some 50 or 100 commands that can work without internet. Now that's a complementary product, right? You can launch it on Amazon only. Using the Alexa stack, you can get the Amazon certification and you can sell it in retail stores. And that will be a great product. Okay. Any other questions? No. So let me just show you some videos, telling how simple a concept could be, and and what kind of revenues a simple concept like that could generate. Okay. So in this video, I'll be sharing you a small demonstration. Let me share my screen. Can you see the screen? Rishabh, could you please confirm?
Yes, sir, I can see.
Okay. Yeah, so in this video, you can actually see what's happening is you take about any co-working space, right? Co-working spaces are like built based on usage, like you pay per month. And oftentimes when I talk to these founders of these co-working spaces or the building owners, they say one complaint that no one really cares to turn off the appliances, or no one really cares to turn on a thing. So what we did is we took that as a challenge. We didn't do a lot of rework. It's just about customizing it. What we did is we integrated the light as well as AC with the ID card, right, with the biometrics. So when the authorized person is entering the room, automatically his room AC, lighting, everything will be turned on. And when he's leaving, automatically it will turn off. And of course, since it is a co-working space, if an unauthorized person enters, it won't respond, right? And it's a pretty simple concept, but look at the impact that it could have. It can be used in any government office, it could be used in any corporate office, co-working spaces, and it will help you save a lot of energy. All right. So similarly, let me just share you another video to talk about. Now, someone asked me about Alexa stuff, right? So let me just play this. Sharing my screen. Okay. See, again, this is a solution that one of the clients asked. So what the ask is, they wanted a simple solution without much of a infrastructure requirement. They wanted to automatically understand the parking situation, whether they can go park the vehicles or not. In typically huge IT offices, you will have to spend a lot of time searching for a parking spot. So what we did is using the cameras that were already there in the floors, we get the data, and based on that, we understand how many vehicles are going inside the premise, how many vehicles are going into a particular floor. And then we have linked it up with the Alexa skill. You can ask Alexa, like, what is the parking status? And then it will guide you, telling that what are the open places, and automatically it will route you there. It's a very simple use case, but then very effective.
Basement 1 is full. Please park in basement 2.
Yeah. So as you could see, this is a very, very simple, problem that has been addressed. Similarly, I was talking to you about the building metrics, right? To understand how many people are there in a building. Okay. So what we did is, we have a kind of, in fact, we applied for a patent for it. We have identified a new technology to understand whether a person is sitting in his desk or not. There are two ways to deal with it. We have created a desk sensor, and similarly, using the tags, we were tracking the position of the people. So you can have a look at it and understand what's happening. So the red dot indicates that there is someone who has occupied the desk. Yeah. So, all right. So now you would have seen, right? So this is like a very simple problem statement. When you have the technology, the building blocks, like the hardware, your platform and user apps, it's very easy to respond to a customer need. And the building data that I've just shown you, where it is indicating the dots, there are a lot of benefits that you could get out of it. You can understand the building utilization ratio. You can understand when to clean a restroom. You can understand whether it is the right time to go for lunch or have a break, right? What are the common areas? You can also control COVID by understanding what are the hotspots which have got a lot of activity. So all these things can be done. It's all imagination is your limit, sky is the limit. But then what is critical is to understand what is the problem, and if you have the building blocks to basically address the problem. All right. Any questions? Is anyone on the forum today did you start any IoT product, or is there anything that you would like to tell about the product? Maybe I can share my thoughts on it. Okay. All right. So if there are not many questions, probably we can wrap up the session.
I think many of the students are just starting now. So because they are just the newcomers and like in the second years only. So yeah, they are just starting out to think about IoT and like building on the products. So not very much great products are there, but they are starting out with the basic prototypes and all. Yeah.
Sure. So if that is the case, at Anter, we're a company who believe in continuous innovation. In fact, most of the money that we get through, and we are a seed funded company. We didn't go for any public funding, and we run the company based on the revenues generated. We are already a profitable company, and whatever we get, we again reinvest in the hard R&D. And we work on R&D in very specialized areas like long range, low frequency communication. We work on, designing chips, which has got like security. By security, I mean both in terms of onboard security, as well as robustness when it comes to handling lightning or any third party interference. Okay. And we are working on battery-based communication technologies, which will enable the device to work on battery for a very long time. To give you an example, recently we worked on a digital trap. Like generally in India, what we do when it comes to pesticides, right? If you have to use pesticides, or if you want to control the pest in your field, it's all like you do some random sample testing. You'll go to a particular place in a field, and then you'll check if there is an insect, and based on that you'll do it. But then what we did is we have created a small camera with a solar powered battery, and what it will do is it will constantly take pictures. Like we put a small trap, okay, a glue kind of thing where the insects will come and get trapped. These pictures, we send it to our server. We analyze the size of the insect, what kind of insects are coming, and based on that, the farmer can remotely either view these images manually, or through the automated AI system, it will automatically tell you, okay, these are the size of insects that are coming. Okay, this could be the level of pesticide that you should use. Okay, again, a small use case. So we run these R&D projects at any given point of time. And hence, if you would like to collaborate, or if you want to pick up a small piece, work on it, and get some stipend, of course, we pay for your work as well. you are more than welcome to come on board. I can just drop my, or else I'm dropping the email ID. You're more than welcome to collaborate or drop your profiles on it or proposals to us on this email ID, and we shall respond, and we can give some tasks that you can work on remotely. Okay, and okay, so I missed a question. What are the skills required to master IoT? Okay, the skills would be primarily, I would say, you need people from electronics, computer science, and mechanical, or specifically instrumentation. People from instrumentation background, if you have friends, then probably you can team up. The reason being, one, you need to design the circuits, right? And when it comes to designing the circuit, you should. It's not just about placing the components. You need to understand what kind of heat it will produce. Whether there would be any interference. Where should I keep the antenna, right? And if at all, if there is a part which can blow off, are there any arcs below it just for the fire to escape? What kind of protection I need to keep on components like this. So all these things should go into the design language. So as a part of it, it's better to have an instrumentation or electronics person, and that should do. And there are a lot of tools. And from the platform side, it's always good to have someone on the back end, like someone like MongoDB, Node.js, people who are familiar with this. They can easily customize the platforms if you know these two things. And the next level skills, I would say, would be on the AI or analytics side. If you're exposed to any of the regression algorithms, you need not have the complete exposure, I would say, but then any regression algorithms, if you're aware, you can work on the sample data sets and see. For example, I'll give you an example. See, for our home automation product, we collect a lot of data in terms of what is the power usage on a public holiday, what is the power usage based on the climate, right? Climatic conditions. And based on that, give recommendations to the end user, telling that going to rain. So most likely, your AC, however, is scheduled to be on, right? Because the outside temperature is anyways low, and this person need not really turn it on. So we give these kind of recommendations. So similarly, that will be a lot of value to the customer. Okay, if you have a team like this, I think you're good to go and have your IoT product in place. Right. Any other questions? Okay, one aspect is industry trends, definitely. How often does new industry trends have impact on client requests? Okay. My suggestion would be to not to depend on any industry trend that is available on the market. You depend on reliable industry trends. Like if you go to Gartner or Forrester, or even if something like Harvard Research, right? So there you get some candid information in terms of what are the industry trends and where things are moving. Okay, that is one aspect that you need to consider. And two, you should actually talk to customers. Okay, you need to, for example, if you think you're building a product for senior citizens, okay, in US, even if you look at the population now, 60% of the people live alone and most of them are elderly. And that's a huge opportunity because you can create solutions which can track their health conditions. You can create solutions which can engage elderly, right? Instead of feeling them lonely, right? There are a lot of solutions that you can build. But and that's what the industry trend says. The industry report says 60% of the people in US are elderly and live alone. That's the industry trend. And now what you need to do, you need to actually talk to the people, telling that, okay, I have this idea. This idea will, what it does is, okay, it will talk to you. It will help you get rid of loneliness. It will create a community connect mechanism where you can talk to people of similar age. It will remind you of your pill usage. It will remind you, it will detect your medical condition and automatically call an ambulance, right? So these are the features probably you would have envisioned. You need to talk to the end users directly, right? And then understand, is it really going to add value? And that way, what you can happen is, whatever industry trend you have observed versus whatever is the client task, both can be matched, and your chances of succeeding and grabbing the market would be higher. Okay. And definitely clients, see, generally when you talk about clients, right, the customers, there'll be different categories. One is enterprises, huge enterprises. One is small and medium enterprises. One is like very small micro enterprises, right? It depends on whom you are targeting. When you look at large enterprises, they're very, generally they'll be very agile in terms of accepting the market change. Okay, they always want something new. They will go along with the industry predictions. Okay, whereas when it comes to the micro enterprises or small enterprises, since it involves change of something would require a lot of money to be infused, you see some resistance in moving from legacy technology to the newer technology. So you need to understand who are the customers that you're targeting. But typically, any large enterprise or consumer market segment, these are the two areas where technology changes will have a drastic impact. Okay, because if you look at 2 years back, Alexa is very rare to find. Eco devices are very rare to find. But nowadays, every home has got an Alexa. Okay, so it's very predominant. And for things like this, based on the target market, if you can plan, you will have a good penetration opportunity. All right. I hope I answered your question. Any other questions? All right, Rishabh, I think if you don't have any further questions, probably we can call it a day.
Yeah. So thank you, Rajneesh sir, for this wonderful, great session. And I have dropped all the socials of Rajneesh sir if you want to contact him, and check out Antar IoT, like what they are doing and what they are up to, and do check out their website. So thank you, sir, for coming up for our session in Dhruva IIITK. It was nice to have you in here. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you, team IIT IIITK, for inviting me. And also, like I said, if any of you are looking for internship opportunities or or if you want to work on something challenging, please do reach out on the email ID that I have shared, and I'd be more than happy to engage you in our existing R&D projects. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.